So, without further ado, we've got a quick fire round. Okay. Are you ready?
Okay.
So, we've got 10 questions here. So, what would you say is your favorite career milestone and why? It's quick fire round, by the way, Kelly.
I would say when I was managing WPP globally, and we went really in on accessible technology and working that into the campaigns that they were producing or the empowerment that they had of their teams using the technology that we were working with. And I met some absolutely amazing people who inspired me in that organization. That made a huge difference and was quite pivotal to the way I look at the world, I would say right now. There's a couple of people there that are very special.
Wow, that's cool. And so I know you're a busy person, and with technology, I know you can be more productive, but it also means, a lot of people are working around the clock and all the rest of it. But what would you say? What's your kind of go-to productivity tool? Is there a particular app or tool, software, anything that you think makes you more productive?
So I love narration. So anything that like read aloud, because whether that's podcast, whether that's anything, right? Like having a document read to me rather than having to read it, which is more tiring. So anything that does like takes that pain of reading and writing away from me. So dictation and read aloud for me are like the biggest ones. And I would say if you start using them, you'll start realizing that it just makes life so much easier. Yeah, I would say that.
Cool. I haven't tried that myself. I don't think that would suit me, but I'd probably waffle. But
You've got like building muscle memory when it's
yeah.
uncomfortable to start with, and then you start to realize, yeah, and it saves your eyesight.
What eyesight? So, what would you? I think I know the answer to this. I think you mentioned it earlier. But what would you choose out of these two to, climb the career ladder? Is it brains or determination? If you had one of the two, I know you got
Well,
both.
I've only got one, and it's determination. So, yeah, I would say absolutely determination. I think when people are focused, and I think brains is easy. You can't quantify brains because you need all types of different people in the room, different thinking. So, academic is great, but then creative thinker is great. So I think, don't worry about that, because if you're determined, you will find the right people to help you achieve what you need to achieve.
Yeah, talent without determination is not going to get you anywhere, I don't think. But so there must be some idea when you were younger. You must have dreamt of being something when you grew up. So can you remember what you first wanted to be when you grew up?
A pop star.
You've still got time.
I still want to be a pop star. And also, I really wanted to be Michael Parkinson. So for like the audience of this may be a bit young, but he interviewed all the celebrities. So I just love that whole like interviewing, maybe James Corden and like that sort of thing where you're finding out about people's lives and asking them about. So I love that. I love that interest.
Oh, there's still time. So, would you say you're a morning or an evening person? So,
Evening, I can't do mornings. Don't book before 9 o'clock.
so do you
And
work?
if you're my husband, don't speak to me before 11.
So, I mean, I can imagine being in your role with any role, but your role is quite competitive. Is it, you're in big corporate business, probably everybody's after each other's jobs and all this kind of stuff. And you've got to kind of stay ahead of the game. Um, is there anything that you like a resource that you go to try and stay ahead of things like a podcast or a website, newsletter, blog, or something that you read upon, or is it just books that to try and find an edge?
I'd love to say that I do podcasts and read books and all of that. I don't. I'm generally a learn by doing. So I learn from other people. I love to be around people that I learn from and are inspired by. So I think having mentors, having people in your life that you can go to and discuss things with is really important. I think I try not to consume too much because I think you can almost overanalyze everything, right? And so I try and be quite open-minded. And I don't really think about competition in that sense, right? I think about, actually, if someone wants my job, brilliant. How do I help them get that job, and somebody else will help me get the next one, right? So it's it's kind of a different way, I guess, of trying to think about the business world. And yeah, of course, there's going to be cutthroat situations, but I think just, yeah, lifting other people up is very important.
Well, it's a great way of looking at things, actually. I suppose you're a believer in karma, maybe also.
Yeah.
So again, I might have touched on this before, but every person experiences stress in the business at one time or another. What is your go-to stress relief technique?
Shopping.
Okay.
And Ben will kill me for saying, but I'm dreadful. So if I'm stressed, I will walk around the shops. And I think it's just because I'll remove myself from the situation I'm in and just go and like look at something different. Or so I have to basically, if I'm really stressed, I have to get away from the place I'm at. So I walk away from my laptop, get out of my office. Generally involves maybe walking around the shops, or it might involve a glass of wine with my friends. I'd love to say that I meditate and I yoga, and I don't do any of that. I know there's lots of people that do.
Well, it's definitely important to just get away from whatever it is, because there's no point.
Yeah, and you come back to it and you have a different perspective. And I guess that's what I'm saying. Like, mine is, I'll distract myself with looking at nice handbags or whatever it is. And and sometimes just walking around somewhere in a different environment, putting yourself in a different environment will help you see the problem differently. Especially if it's really winding you up. Like, just take a step back.
I'm a strong believer that it doesn't matter how much you think about it, it's not going to help.
No.
So think about something else. So what's the one word you describe your career? You can use a couple if you like.
I would say unplanned and squiggly.
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 And what would you say is the most important trait in a teammate? Now, I know lots of teammates might offer different things, but what would you say is probably the most important to you?
Trust, 100%. Humor. You've got to be able to have a bit of a laugh, right? You've got to have some humor in the situations, because in the tough times, you need that. You need to be able to trust someone to talk to. You need somebody to vent to, but you need to also be able to laugh sometimes and just take the stress out of the situation. So, just being human, I would say, is important. I don't want robotics. I don't want a corporate answer all the time. I just want to, let's talk it through. Let's trust each other enough to be grown-ups and have a discussion.
Yeah, it's probably going back to that be yourself element, and you want people to be themselves around you, I suppose. Last question. So I don't know how many interviews you've had in your lifetime, and I don't know how many people you've interviewed, but what is the one interview tip that you would give?
For me, it is practicing the questions. So thinking about what they're going to ask you, and then actually, preparing an answer and being able to succinctly say that, because there are it's often questions and they may be in different guises, but they're around certain themes. There will be about capability, competency. So I think, be like, I, for example, when I'm going into an interview situation, I have a PowerPoint deck and I'll think about all the things they might ask me, and I will have a slide that maybe visually I can talk to, or so I think it sounds really corny, like prepare, but actually rehearse so that you're not tripping over yourself when it comes to the real event. I think that's really important. And I think be prepared to also talk about yourself. So often people talk about their careers. I've done this, I've done that, but the person opposite you wants to know who they're going to work with. What do you enjoy doing? Like, get a bit of personality in there.
Mm.
And if you don't know or you don't understand, ask,
Yeah.
right? I had to do that recently and say, I'm really sorry, I don't actually understand what you're asking me. Otherwise you end up making up something, and then they're
Yeah.
like, you
Yeah.
know,
No, you
because
did
it's,
right.
even on the other side, as I'm interviewing someone, what I'm saying, the language I'm using may not be familiar to them. So it's fair that you say, can you clarify that? What do you actually mean? Can you give me an example? So that, you know, especially as I'm quite visual, I need you to sort of paint a picture of what you're asking me so I can think about it. So it's okay to ask for clarification.
Yeah. No, it's really well said. And I think a lot of the questions, there's no right or wrong answer. I think
No,
as long as you're concise and honest and, you know, you believe in what you're saying, I don't, there's a lot of questions that probably isn't a right or wrong answer. They're just wondering what your thoughts were on something. And as long as you're kind of concise and confident
and
about
some
what,
of them will be curveballs just to see how you react.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know, stay calm, just think about it. It's okay to pause, it's okay to ask a question back, because
And
they want to see
remember,
how
I
you
think
react.
also they want you, or at least they want somebody. Okay. So this is
Yes,
a
yeah,
one-way thing. So you also hold the power. You know, they could be sitting there go, we really want this person, and they want to try and put their best foot forward to try and impress you. Um, so
absolutely. Like, you know, as I said, I'm going to be starting a new company soon, and it's very two-way. They want to know about me, but I equally want to know about them. What's this company like? You know, what do they stand for? How do they work? What's their work ethic? How do they, how do they expect people to be in the office, out of the office? But all these things are important, and will determine whether you want to work for that organization. One thing I have learned, though, is who you work for is really important. Like, the manager that you have will directly impact how you thrive at work. And so if you do get a bad feeling about somebody you're interviewing with, you don't gel, that should tell you it's
mm,
not right, because it
yeah,
will be difficult.
go with your gut. A lot of the time, I think
Absolutely.
it's usually your gut is not wrong. So Kelly, I've loved this. I really appreciate it. I think you've given loads of really good advice. I'm going to watch this back and I'll probably take some of it myself. So thank you very much. And we will chat soon.
Yeah, sounds good. See you soon. Bye.
Bye now.